Hi, so good afternoon. Good afternoon to every one of you. It's indeed another great privilege to be here, and it's Wednesday. It's our relational issues day, in which we are going to discuss. And I know for some of you, some of you saw our promotional ad in which we are looking at um, love or infatuation. Is it love or infatuation? And what about compatibility? So that is the issue in which we are going to discuss this afternoon. I'm so happy with the individuals that we have here on the panel. We are just going to have some fun. Remember, you can post your questions and your comments that you have. And if we have time, we read your comments and we'll read the questions. So, hi, Kim. So happy to see you here this afternoon. So, before we go any further, let us pray. Great God and eternal Father, which art in heaven, we are thankful for another day. I pray, Lord, in a special way that you be with each and every one of our viewing friends. Lord, there are areas they may not know. May you help them that they will be able to learn about some facts about infatuation and love and even compatibility so that they can have better love lives. Have your way, we pray. Through Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, great. Hi, Janissa. Good afternoon. So remember, I cannot see who are viewing unless you put a comment in the comment section. So you can send hi, you can send good afternoon, and then it's when I'll be able to see exactly who the persons who are viewing. So I have a special bunch of individuals here this afternoon. I'm going to kindly ask them to introduce themselves. I have one lone female. Hopefully, someone else should join. I don't know 100% as yet, but we'll see how the day goes. Hi, Desi. So happy, girlfriend. You're here. Perfect forum for you. So I'm going to start with anybody could start. Introduce yourself right now.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Pastor Brent Saint Jean, Dominican by birth. I'm Vincentian by work and marriage and so forth. I'm the youth director for the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Mission of Seventh-day Adventists. I'm happy to be here. I'm delighted to be part of the program.
All right. So thank you so much, Pastor Sintra. Oh my goodness. You guys are in a treat this afternoon. You cannot pay for this program right now this afternoon. All right. Who will be next to introduce themselves?
Hi, good afternoon. I am Daniel Jacobs from Guyana, born, bred, grown here. I am a teacher by profession, graduate teacher within the sciences. I'm always in youth work, youth elder, person ministries lead, and the rest of it. And I believe I'm married, by the way, so I believe I have the authority to say a few things on this topic. And I hope we have loads of fun this afternoon.
Amen. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. All right, go, Mr. Cort. I'm going to leave Anessa for last, the lone female amongst our, the men today.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Paul Cort. I'm originally from Guyana, but I left there 19 years ago. Trinidad has been my adopted home for 9 of those 19 years. I am an assistant professor of music at the University of the Southern Caribbean here in Trinidad. Yes, I am married. I'm married to the same person that I've been friends with for 21 years. We were married 13 of those 21 years. Wow. So we had a good long courtship and plenty fun and lots of time in between, because in between courtship, I was away 6 years in the US. So I could tell you plenty things.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Cort. All right, so I'm going to take the lone lady. You're the only single woman on our panel this afternoon. Well, single, I'm not going to say whether she's dating or not. I don't know, but single in a sense she's not married, right? Viewers, go right ahead.
By the end, she mightn't be single.
Okay, hi, everybody. I'm Anessa Munroe. I am from Guyana. I was born there. I received my education in Guyana also. I was a biology major at the University of Guyana. I am now a teacher here in Nevis, where I am currently living. I love to sing. I love natural hair. I am single Yeah. And I'm happy to be here among these wonderful married people where I can learn more, just like you, about dating and marriage and all these wonderful things and love. Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Anessa. All right, I want to say one more thing about this panel here this afternoon. It dawned on me last night that this panelists, all of them can sing. Every single one of them, they're singers. They may, well, they rate themselves differently. Some of them rate themselves 90 on the bar. Some of them rate themselves 50. But the point is, they are all singers, and I've listened to all of them sang before. Because Pastor Brent, I just reflected back on one of the song. I think you and Pastor Smith, you guys were singing something, and I just had to laugh. I have it somewhere stored in Google Drive, so I know you can sing. So this afternoon we're gonna have some fun. I don't know, for my panelists, before we get started into the question, can we get like a piece of a song or something? If each of you can just sing a piece, because we're dealing with love and that topic. So any song that comes to your mind, just a piece. Hi, Curtis. So happy to see you. Curtis is saying he's single too. So I don't know whose message is that. All right, so panelists, let me hear just a piece of the love song. Remember, viewers, you can share it to your page right now, this broadcast, so that other persons on your page can see this program live instead of viewing it after, because we don't know who may have questions to ask this afternoon. All right, so who will start? Just a piece of a song so we get rolling this afternoon.
Okay, I'll start.
All right, a piece of a song.
If home is really where the heart is, then home must be a place we all can share. For reasons in all differences, our hearts are much the same. And where love is, we come together there.
Ooh, I feel like getting married right now. All right, let's go. Let me hear. Who else will be next? Who will be next?
I'll go. Oh, my love, my darling, I
Sing that song back.
for your touch, I love lonely child. Goes by, can do so much. Are you still mine? I need your love. Godspeed your love to me.
Thank you. Thank you. That's one of my favorite love songs. Oh my gosh. Yes. Let us go. So between Pastor Brent and Danielle, now you next to set the platform before we start talking about this love and infatuation.
Now, after singing like this, I'm frightened now.
Me too.
All animals were created equal. Some are more equal than others.
Yeah, we'll take Daniel first, and Daniel will decide.
It's challenging for me to go after Anessa. Anessa is one of my favorite singers. So
You're in the male lane, so don't worry.
All right. I'm more into sound engineering, but I'll just do a little piece of one of my favorite songs. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stand even when life has got me down, and my hopes and dreams are nowhere to be found. Still I'll stand, 'cause I know I'm too close to give up now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it all in your hands and stand. Yeah, 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 stand. Even when life seems cold, just stand. When you can feel your soul, you'll stand. When your dark clouds won't seem to go away, help me say you can stand. God is right by your side, stand. He'll make everything all right. But if you can, just lift your hands and stand.
Woo! So no
I
matter,
think
so
I
you may
think
be
there's
getting
something in the
challenged with
water
love
in
right
Guyana.
now. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Pastor Brent, I mean, come on, let us hear you now.
No, I think I should do the closing prayer. On that, ask God, thank God for His blessings on this beautiful singing that we've had this afternoon.
Now you can't pass me that.
No, seeing that I'm a pastor, and I don't know which of my members are looking, and at the end of it, some of the nice oldie goldies, I might sing one, and then they might call me into the judgment for it.
Don't worry,
Let
I'll bail
me,
you out.
so I can let me see. One of my favorites. Now listen to the refrain. Says, "If that isn't love, the ocean is dry. There's no stars in the sky, and the sparrows can fly. If that isn't love, then heaven's a myth. There's no feeling like this if that isn't love."
You see what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. So let me get in straight into things. So to our audience this afternoon, we have just a panel of singers. It just so happened coincidentally. But today we are dealing with the topic of is it infatuation and love? And what about compatibility? So just want to say shout out to those individuals who are joining us, Renisha, Tanya, Lisa, Monster Jones. So happy. Hi, John. So happy to have all of you this afternoon. Remember to share this broadcast to your page. So let's go in straight into the first question. What do you think is the difference between infatuation and love? What is the difference? And anybody can answer me in any random order, no problem. What is the difference between the two? All right, I know what I have to start doing. I have to start calling names because I realize that everybody's waiting to see. Okay, let's see who will start it off for. So I'm gonna take I am a musician.
All right. So when you're on a panel, never wear a shirt with a theme. Now, the difference between love and infatuation for me is that love has got to be born out of experience and genuine things that make you love the person, their attributes, their personality, etc. For me, that's what genuine love is. It has to do with the abstract parts of their personality that makes you grow to love them, or the experiences that you get where that person demonstrates love in a way that makes you know that it's unmistakable, that this person has genuine care. Infatuation is just based on, butterflies in the stomach and looks, which after a while, dissipate very quickly, especially when you got to share the same space. And there's only so much of the infatuation that you could enjoy before it begins to get old.
Well said. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Cort. Who'll be next?
If I can jump in there. To add to what Mr. Cort would have said, I believe that love is principled and long lasting, while infatuation is sporadic. It is very, very sporadic, and it's in the moment something You fall in and out. There isn't any principled thing about it. Love deals with making a conscientious effort. You must work at it. There's some amount of work and consistency that is required. Whereas that is not the same for infatuation. It is all about, like Paul would have said, it's in the moment, it's sporadic, and it's based largely on physical attributes and lust.
Okay.
Well said. Yes,
if I should add to all that has been said before, love goes beyond the physical, and even though it knows the flaws of an individual, it is willing to explore the individual and see the person beyond those faults and those flaws. And so love is based on so many intangibles, while infatuation is based on a lot of physical attributes, how beautiful someone is, how long their hair is, how well they're curved. And soon as those things vanish, or if anything should happen for those things to change, so also the feeling that is attached to them. So it is not necessarily loving the individual, it's loving those physical attributes about them, and then creating an unrealistic image of who the person really is. So you're not in love with the individual, you're in love in the idea of what you think they are. And it's actually a very unreal place. So that is like a striking difference, whereas love knows and understands, and love is intelligent, and it is not based on physical attributes and things that are just purely lustful. Yes, if I should say.
Anessa, are you married? My girl talking from yes, man. So we already know what we have here. We know what we have. Go, Pastor Sidra. So before you go, Pastor Brent, I just want to say welcome to Pastor Rose and to Teacher Melinda. I'm so happy that you're here with us this afternoon. So go, Pastor Brent.
Yeah, quickly. I mean, a lot has been said. So I just say a little bit. I just believe when I think of infatuation and love, I see a me versus we concept. So if infatuation is all about me, what I want, and how I feel, and so forth. But love is more we. Is not selfish. It's not about what I want and what I desire and so forth. It's about making sure putting other person's interests and desires sometimes even ahead of yourself. When I think of love and infatuation as well, I think of emotive and cognitive. So and infatuation is more emotions and I mean, so one time you just, you into it, one time you're out of it, and so on. And that's why, Cort said, it doesn't last long, because emotions, as long as you get used to something, you can control your emotions. But when you look at love as something cognitive, as Anessa was saying, it's something that you think of. It's a decision that you make. I've decided. It's something that you process in your mind, and when that happens, it tends to last longer. And it will last longer because it's beyond emotions and physical attraction and so on. It is saying, come what may, whatever it is, I've made a decision to love this person and to be there for that person.
Wow. So
if I should also add, love has its sacrificial component. And I like to think of love as giving life. I always say that if you love somebody, you really would give life to them, not just in this life, but in the life to come. So you're not catering to love this person in, like we say, with emotions only, but we are trying to preserve this person's relationship with God. So therefore, if I love somebody, I would not lead them in paths that are incorrect. I would not want them to do things that are wrong so that they can lose out on everlasting life.
Wow. wow. So thank you very much for the submission so far. Hi, El Joycin. I'm so happy to have you here this afternoon as we go through this topic. So the questions, by the way, these questions were sent by young people to me about love, what they want to know. And then someone wants to know, how long does infatuation last? So I'm just going to take two responses. Any two panelists, you can answer me this question. How long does infatuation last?
Well, when you get to be old enough or married long enough, I think you get to realize that just like Pastor Brent had said, just like other panelists have suggested, that we think of love, of infatuation as physical and love as cognitive. But if you're married for long enough, those begin to amalgamate in a way that makes you unable to separate love from infatuation. Because after a while, I mean, look, I've been married for 13 years, 3 children, and in spite of physical changes and whatever, I'm still excited and infatuated by my wife after all these years, because you begin to make infatuation cognitive, because you begin to tell yourself, I love her anyway, right? Even if her tummy ain't as flat as it used to be, and she had a C-section, so you're seeing the scar and whatever, you begin to start to process things differently. And once you've made the decision to still be infatuated by and in love with that person, then the two become malleable and they're inseparable. So it depends on how you are educated emotionally to process these things. So for me, infatuation is still around. Of course, when you just meet, it's a completely different thing. But you've got to let your love inform your infatuation to continue to perpetuate that infatuation.
Wow. All right. Thank you. We take one more response on that. How long does infatuation last?
If I may, I believe that Mr. Cort, and I loved all that he said, but to me, he spoke to one side of the coin in that he's talking about infatuation within a love relationship. Correct. Not just marriage, a love relationship. And I'm thinking about infatuation without that love relationship, because we can interpret it both ways. And so if there is infatuation alone and there is no love and no principle and you don't like the person for who they are, then I think that is what most persons think about. In that case, it will not last very long, because it's based on feelings. And I feel one way today, 2 minutes from now, I can feel a totally different way. 10 minutes from then, I can feel differently. And so that feeling can change at any time. The person can do something that I don't like, and I just decide that, hey, I'm out of this, all right? And so you can have that continuous infatuation and physical attraction when you have that love relationship, because there is some substance there, something more than just the physical. And that is what allows that to last. If you only have the physical, as in the case with infatuation only, then it will not last very long.
Great submissions. Great submissions. Thank you so much. Welcome, Sarah from Canada. From Canada. I'm so happy. My good friend Demansia could not have been on the program this afternoon, but Demansia, I'm so happy that you're still viewing. Feel free to give your submission in the comment section so that we can add it to the program. Hi, Jay. Welcome to you. All right. So the other question is, how do you know when you are in love? And maybe I'll take 1 point from each one of you, and let's see how we can go through this thing. How do you know? So our young people looking right now, listening in, they want to know if they're really and truly in love. So how do you know when you're in love? Panelists, over to you.
Oh, that's a very complex question. How do you know? How do you know when you're in love? Even in my experience and so on, I believe sometimes it takes you a while before you really realize that you are in love in the true sense of the word. I remember when I was dating. Well, we're not dating. We're very good friends. My wife and I. My now wife. I remember we were very good friends. We limed together at the university. We did everything together and so on. And at some point, you recognize that the person's happiness means so much to you. you tend to make sacrifices for that person. I mean, it's not just the attraction, it's not the attraction anymore. It's something about you find yourself doing things that you would not usually do for people, for that person. And before you know, you realize that when you are not with the person, you feel like something is missing in your life. And it's at that point you start to realize, this is more than just an attraction. And that's why I always tell young people. And that I remember, I can give you a short story about, quickly. I remember when my wife and I were very good friends and so forth. I remember a young lady wanted to go somewhere with me. I can't remember what it was. And I was talking to my then friend about it. And then she said to me, why does she want to go there with you? And I'm like, and I remember saying to her, why does that trouble you? I mean, so clearly, there is more than a friendship there. I mean, if you're being troubled that this young lady wants to go with me somewhere, then clearly we need to assess what this relationship is. And I believe love is something that grows and it grows. And by the time you realize you are so taken up with it. And I believe one of the greatest things is that, or beyond the attraction, you realize that certain sacrifices you would make, the person's happiness meaning so much to you. I mean, you want what is best for the person, sometimes even when you would put yourself even second to ensure that they receive that happiness and that comfort that they desire. At that point, you realize that this is more than just an attraction. This is something that is deeper, something that is more meaningful, and that is something that can be sustained over a long period of time.
Wow. All right, thank you for that. And I just want to ask you one question, though, Pastor Brent, before I move on to the other. So while you were in this friendship relationship, well, you guys were friends. You guys were friends without you weren't dating anyone. Was she just your best friend or your good friend, and then you were dating someone else? If you don't mind sharing that.
No, we were close. I mean, we were very good friends. I mean, she used to we used to look at each other as a big brother, little sister kind of something. That's how bad it was. I mean, it sounds bad, but but I mean, she's a couple years. Yeah, she's just about 3 years younger than I am. But I mean, I was in university first, and so I didn't see the relationship as that early. But the more you spend time with the person and you develop, you realize that your compatibility and so forth.
Yeah.
After a while, it starts growing upon you and so on, and that's what makes a relationship strong. That's why I always tell people I'm not worried about my wife's relationship with me, because I believe the foundation that was set, that friendship, that friendship, that getting to know each other, getting to know your likes and your dislikes, and because her happiness means so much to me and my happiness means so much to her, I believe that's what really breaks the thing. And I believe it took us a while as friends before we realized that wait, this is no longer ordinary. This is something bigger. But I believe that's crucial, and yeah, it's something amazing. It's amazing to see yourself grow in love with somebody.
Yes. All right. Thank you. So who will be next? This is interesting.
Well, let me say one quick thing before I make my contribution. Now, Mr. Cort is my father. Paul is my name. Daniel says Mr. Cort and Paul interchangeably. It's just Paul. We aren't born with any titles. On our birth certificates, we only got our first name, our middle name, and our last names. And we don't have any titles, whether Mr., Miss, Doctor, Master, Professor, none of that. So Paul is good. Anyway, what I was going to say is that yes, it is. How do you know you're in love? Now, I thought I was in love very early, although I was smart enough to know that you can't call it too soon. The reason I say that is the circumstances under which I met my wife. Well, I was moonlighting with the courtship, but I went for another purpose. Now, my wife's mother, well, my wife's father is a pastor, albeit a Presbyterian pastor, not a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. And her mother supports him in his ministry as a missionary. So she's also a minister in a way. And we went to the church mission in the Essequibo River to do VBS, right? Vacation Bible School. And so I went there to teach singing and do music and things like those, never imagining that the missionary lady had a daughter she'd bring along I'd like. And that's why I said I was moonlighting with the coaching, because I went to teach, but ended up, watching the thing on the side. But what I was going to say is that why I said I thought I was in love very early was that at night, once, you're done your teaching and everything, in a rural part of the country, you sit around the campfire or you sit around in the moonlight on a piece of a tree stump or something, just chatting. And, the first day I landed at the mission, the girl cooked. And I said, check. I like she already. The food tastes good. Right? That was the very first thing. And no joke, it was the food first. Then, as we were talking, the issues that interest young people very early, things like sex came up. We were talking, and everybody said all kinds of things, and then she said, there's no greater gift that a woman could give to her husband except that thing on the honeymoon night. And I thought, check, she's talking right. I like that. She has her head on, and she has self-control, right? Then she didn't know I was there observing, At any rate, then, and this one blew me out of the water. And then is when I felt really satisfied, the one that I'm about to mention now. Eventually when I told her, after observing her for about 3 days, after I told her I liked her, she did what no young lady, and I've had several, at that time I was 21. She was 16, soon to be 17, right? So that big brother thing, Pastor Brent, yeah, I know it sounds bad, but anyway, now I was 21, she was 16, soon to be 17, but that's not the point. The point is that, when I told her I liked her, I told her I was interested in her, she said what no woman I had ever talked to had said to me before. She said, okay, you like me? You'll have to discuss that with my father. I'm like, whoa! At first, that blew me back, because from the time you tell her you like her and she's sending you straight to her father, she don't mess around, no hanky-panky, come straight, And I thought, wow, how many 16-year-olds you telling me you like them will say, you'd have to discuss that with my father in very business-like fashion, right? And then is when I went, check, because, this girl don't play, right? And then it said to me also that she came from the kind of home where she was afforded the kind of relationship with her parents that she didn't have to hide anything. This was somebody who came up in a secure and functional home, functional family, that there was that connection that talking to your parents about things was not a strain, right? Yeah. So right away, I knew that this was a girl coming from a solid home. So that's why I said I thought that I was in love very early, because I started to see the signs early on.
Yeah.
But the thing I would say is that I still hadn't decided yet, because a person may say all the right things in the right situations when they're being listened to, right? But you don't know how they act in real life. So that when I went to meet her father 2 weeks later, and it took 3 hours journey to get to their house, right? Because I got to cross 3 rivers
wow.
to get to where she lived. Now, so when I went to meet him, like a wise old sage, his first question was, and he was principal of a school, right? So this very stoic, rigid chap says, are you in love with my daughter? And, I looked him straight in the eye and said, no.
What?
I said, no. I said, no. And he then said, what? In other words, then we come here for.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And I said, allow me to explain. I have just met her. We just know each other 2 weeks. There are attributes about her that make me like her, make me admire her, make me think that I want her. I said, but if I'm to say that I love her right now, it would be an infatuation. And I just need time for us to have the experiences which will make us come closer, make us grow to love each other, and for me to discover more things about her which will make me love her. And then I'd be able to say that I'm in love. And then his very stern look turned to an easy smirk, as so to say, this SOB is smooth, right? And so he gave us the time. And, later on, he said to me, which, something that is not specific to the topic, but I believe it is important. He said to me later on, after I told him months later that, I think we were in love. He said, a lot of people had a lot of things to say because of the age difference and because of the fact that you were already a teacher in a high school and my daughter was in her final year of secondary school and she in love with this teacher guy. Well, of course, I wasn't her teacher, right? I was another school. But at any rate, she was a girl still in school uniform. And he said, I permitted you to visit for one simple reason. He said, my daughter came to me and told me that she was interested in you. And if my daughter is interested, you got to come home. He said, I can't tell her, I don't want you to come. I want you with man. He said, then I am forcing her to hide from me and to lie to me and to meet you secretly. Because if she's interested and I tell her no, so he said, I told you to come just so I could monitor and be involved in the relationship. Because if you come into my home to visit her, then I could observe you and I could regulate how the friendship develops. So, and that's something that I wish parents would think about. The more you try to prohibit, the more the child tries to get the thing that the parent says they can't have.
True.
So there's a way to navigate, but that's my answer.
All right. Thank you so much. That was a very nice long essay. I know my viewers, they're listening, and our young people, they're listening. I want to say welcome to Mashaka. You with us this afternoon. Odesia, welcome, and Rose Pink. All right, great. So I'm kindly asking everybody to mute their microphones at this point in time. Thank you. All right. So we're still on the question, and just very briefly, how do you know? Hi, Rowena. Welcome to you this afternoon. How do you know when you're in love? So we don't need a long episode now. Sir Cort, Paul. I don't know. I'm not accustomed calling people by their full name, right? Just out of respect. Eh? So forgive me this afternoon. All right. So who will be next? So we're looking at how do you know when you're in love to our viewers, young people. After this presentation here this afternoon, none of you should come with any excuses because these men and, of course, the lone single lady here, they're coming to us with a wealth of knowledge. So this is your time to take in all the information necessary. Ice Princess Blair, welcome to you, dear. So let's go quickly.
Hi, yeah. What I'll say is this. I have been in a lot of relationships, but I've only been in love once. And what was different? I have
to drink for that one.
Yeah.
Sabbath is the day for confessions. Sabbath is the day for confessions. You're confessing and it's not Sabbath.
Right? All right. No, but I mentioned that. I mentioned that because there may be times where you feel as if you're in love, eh?
Yes.
But when you understand truly what love is, then you're able to make that distinction. And
Mm-hmm.
what was different about it? One of the first things for me, I mean, Paul, I had that same checklist that I was checking me on as well. But what was different for me, as a male, I don't know about the others, but you take pride in the type of young lady that you take to your mother. All right. And
Yep.
while I would have dated a lot of persons, many of whom would have requested for me to introduce them to my mother, and I refused. My wife was the only young lady that I ever took to my mother. All right. And I did it without her asking, without anything. As a matter of fact, I started talking to my mother about her while we were still in conversation. We were still friends. We were friends for like a year before we started dating. All right. And so when I told my mother, hey, this is my girlfriend, she already knew where I was coming from. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Also, while we had just started dating and I had indicated my interest, like Paul would have indicated, we just went out casually sometime. And when my wife came, she said, my mother said to say hi. And I was like, what? Your mother knows that you just out casually and I'm the person that you're with. She says, yeah, she knows everything. I've told her everything and the rest of it. Now, in a man's head, immediately that tells you that this is somebody with principle. They have standard. You just can't run around and play around with that type of person. All right. Also, to me, truly being in love with this person means that whatever I'm doing or wherever I'm at, it is irrelevant. The important thing is who I'm doing it with or who I'm at that place with. So we
Yes.
could be doing the most exciting thing or we can be doing nothing at all. And I feel the same way because the important thing is that much of my happiness and joy is tied up in this person. What I like to say finally, because I don't want to repeat what was said before, is that to me, love is given. And so when I realized that, unlike all the other persons that I was with, I wanted to give so much for this person and do so much for them, I realized that something is different. And I
Yeah.
believe that that is where much of the confusion lies with our society today. All right? In that person, for example, a young man will make a list. He wants a young lady that can do this, can do that, can a whole long list. But in that process, he does not indicate what he is willing to put and what he is willing to do. Now, at times it borders on being selfish because many times when we're in relationships and we have all of these qualities that we want in the person, a lot of times these are just qualities that will benefit us and not necessarily anything to do with love. So I want somebody with a house because I want to live comfortable. I want someone with a car because of the same thing. I want someone to cook because I want somebody to cook for me. All right. But to me, the distinction with love came when I wanted to do stuff and I wanted to make her happy. And whenever I did something and she was happy because of that, all right, it brought me much happiness as well. All right. So when I saw those things, that was very, very different from the relationships that I was in before, in which you're not very serious and you're playing around and the rest of it, right? So that's it for me.
All right. Anessa, the court is yours.
Um, I haven't had much experience with love like these wonderful people here. Um, but I guess being in love is a wonderful thing, and I know that I am in love with someone when it the physical things don't matter. It goes beyond that. It's more like I am not in love with the person's physical attribute, but who they are as an individual. And the very little things that make them smile, or what I can do to put a smile on their face. And the things that they can do for me that can make me smile. Um, yeah, I guess I don't have much to say about this. Yeah.
That's all right. I know you're single and Daniel?
Yeah. I hope a single man is listening.
Amen. I just want to add something with that, right?
Go right ahead.
To me, love is not something that is locked away and hidden. And I believe that is one of the problems with young people today. Whenever they get into relationships and they feel like they're in love, they're always in a corner, they're always locked away, they always want to be hidden, right? When you're genuinely in love with someone, all right, you do not always want to be that way. You want to do things with them. You want to experience places with them, go out to travel and the rest of it. And so you may have a family function and you invite them to it and vice versa. All right. Because you have pure intentions. You know that whatever you're feeling about this person is genuine. You're not playing games and making jokes. And so there is no fear and no reason that you would want to only be in the shadows. All right, you will only want to be in the shadows, and so you're willing to. You go to church together, you go to prayer meetings together, you go to camps together, family functions and events together. All right, and instead of just being locked away, corny in the shadows, all right. So when those things happen, I see really being above you.
If I must add also, I would agree with what Sir Daniel would have said. And when you're in love, there is this deep sense of peace that God is pleased with what you're doing, and you're not fearful that whatever it is that I'm doing, it's God is not pleased with it. I think that that is a very, very important feeling where you know that God is in this thing and God is just there at the center of it, and you feel no fear and you feel no guilt. Yeah, because sometimes you can be in relationships and you have so much guilt because the guilt comes from the fact knowing deep down inside somewhere that this is not the place that I should be. But then when you're in love, you just know that it's right. It's something, I want to be here. I should be here. God is pleased that I am here. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Right. Yes, Pastor Brent.
Yeah, quickly, I just want to say this. When it comes to love, and I'm talking from a male's perspective, and many of the young ladies want to know, how do you know if a guy really loves you and so on and so forth. Now, a man is like an alpha lion. If they have somebody who looks pretty, they will want to walk in public with you and so on because it's something for their ego. So it doesn't mean because someone is comfortable walking with you down the street and so on means the person love you. Could just be you building his ego, that you just look good physically, that the person say, yeah, but look at me now. I have a hot girl walking down the road with me and so on and so forth. But I always look at it. When a man is seriously in love with a woman, he lets the people who he loves and respects the most know who that woman is. And that's one thing I realized about men. You see, when a man takes
out secrets of the trade.
when a man can introduce a woman to his mother, to his mentor, to people that he values in his life, that says that this man is not just looking at you as a physical attraction. This man is looking at you in the long term because he wants the people who he looks up to see the approval, whether they would love that person as well, and if they look at that person as a good person. So just a tip for our young ladies: if he's not introducing you to the important people in his life, watch out, something not right.
Now, let me say very quickly. Yeah. I like what Daniel raised, and he's absolutely right. I didn't say it, but it's about giving. It's a giving thing, and I think that's very, very important. Because I will tell you, having had an 8-year courtship before being married, 2 years I was in Guyana. We were both in Guyana. But, 1 year into meeting each other, the opportunity for me to go out to study overseas came, which is why we didn't bother to pursue marriage anytime in a hurry. We had to make sure that, this will survive distance and time and the challenges of being away. 2 years into courtship, I had to go out to study. And we spent 6 years apart because I did 2 degrees out in the US while she was in Guyana. Of course, I used to travel back and forth and that kind of thing. But the fact is that in those 6 years is when we got the opportunity to test our ability to give, to ensure the life of this relationship, right?
Correct.
And giving wasn't always tangible. It's about the things that we gave up, the opportunities that we sacrificed, the decisions that we made for the greater good of our future life together. And we had 6 long years of making decisions like those about what she would forego, what I would forego, etc., etc. And in the end, the investment was so big in tangible and non-tangible things that is what has solidified the foundation and makes me know that I'm never getting out of this simply because of all that I put into it before we got into the marriage.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those submissions. All right, so I just want to say welcome to Troy, Christine, and Maya. If you are viewing right now, you haven't shared this on your page, remember there might be some other young person on your page that may want to get this information in, may want to learn some more. So just share it so that they can view just like you. All right, good. So my other question that a lot of young people, it's surprising, you know, one of the things I usually message some of my young people and ask, okay, what are some things you want to know on love and infatuation or the topics we're dealing with? But this question just keep recurring. And the question is there anything as love at first sight? I don't know. So many of our young people want to know the answer to that question. So briefly, can you tell me, I know all of you, the men are married, with the exception of Anessa. So Anessa, if by chance there's any question you want to say, I'll pass on it. No problem. I give you that permission because I don't want to put you in a position that you have no experience to answer on. But men, or even Anessa, is there anything as love at first sight? I myself want to know, eh? So go right ahead, gentlemen.
So what if I want to answer too?
Yeah, Anessa, you will answer. Definitely, you will answer too.
Yeah, definitely. We want to know if she saw somebody that she loved at first sight. We'll be very interested. We want to know.
we want to live through your experiences.
Definitely, get the female perspective.
Definitely.
But let me in my opinion, like I said, I always say I never think my opinion is the right one. But in my opinion, my humble opinion is there is nothing called love at first sight. I think there can be attraction at first sight. There can be interest at first sight. But the true definition of love, I don't think you can unconditionally say that this is the person I want to be with, having met them, just seeing somebody, because there are certain things that you will not be able to see at first sight. You need a second sight and a third sight and a fourth sight and a fifth sight. At the end of it, and I believe we usually confuse attraction with love and interest. And attraction can lead to love, because obviously if you have to see and like what you see and then pursue something else. I mean, it's like you go into a ripe mango. The mango has to first look attractive to you on the tree for you to determine if it's worth climbing the tree and risking your life for it. Some sense, I believe there's attraction, but in the true definition of the word of love, I don't think you can truly love somebody by seeing them by first sight. That's just my simple answer.
Thank you so much, Pastor Brent. Young people, I hope you're listening. Take note. If you have a paper and a pen, please take your paper and pen and write it down. Hi, Dylan. Welcome. Hi, Sister Geraldine. I'm so happy to have you here this afternoon. Dylan, you asked it. Okay, Dylan, I'm going to come back to you a little later. Panelists, just take a look at that question. So we're going to continue with the question we're dealing with right now. Do you think there's love at first sight?
Well, let me say quite honestly, I know of several cases where love at first sight has been successful. However, I'd have to agree with Pastor Brent and say, look, there's something called gambling.
Yeah.
And we are encouraged not to gamble. And love at first sight, if you ask me, is a gamble, right? You really do not know, taking a gamble, whether or not you will succeed at winning the game. Therefore, it is something that persons have done, which I would not recommend. And the reason why I say that is, look, I've got relatives of mine who have been married for more than 50 years. And my cousin told me, because he used to like to dance, he went to a dance, saw the young lady, asked her for a dance, just at the sight of her. She's old and still attractive, right? But asked her for a dance, and he said, ever since then we've been dancing, right? No, they swear that it was love at first sight. Saw her, wanted her, went after her, they got married, and it has lasted over 50 years. But so I'm saying that there's a chance occurrence that could sometimes result in that, but it is a rare pearl. It's a needle in a haystack. So there's no point in gambling on such a low probability.
All right. Interesting remarks. Let's go. We have Anessa and Danielle remaining.
Again, I think that this comes down to a matter of confusion. All right. I do not believe in love at first sight because of the fact that love is principled and love takes into consideration characteristics of the person, character traits. In that moment when I first see someone, I cannot see any of those character traits. All right. And like Paul rightfully said, it's a gamble. What I see may not be exactly what I'm getting. All right. So that's a big gamble that you're taking. However, I must admit that for the vast majority of relationships, it begins with attraction. Yeah. Now, usually when you see this person, there must be something that you're attracted to that cause you to decide to show your intentions or share your intentions with them as to what, where you want this to go. I believe, however, that there are cases where this initial attraction is so strong that people confuse it for love. All right. But remember, when I saw my wife for the first time, I met her at a camp. I met her at Camp Goshen. Big up to Camp Goshen, by the way. Yes. I met her at camp. All right. And I believe that year you had about 50-something young ladies at camp. And so there was something about this young lady that caused her to stand out to me. And those things made me attracted to her. All right. And because of that attraction, that caused me to want to take it to the next step of talking to her. Of course, most naturally, if you have that attraction, there's a large possibility that you talk to the person, it can go on from there. But I believe that is where the dating stage plays a very important part in determining if, apart from what you would have seen at first, because at first sight, you just see the physical characteristics. The dating stage is what would tell you about, their character and their personality. And if there is something there that you can build on and determine basically if what you saw at first is actually viable.
Good submission. I love them. I love in the submissions. Anessa, well, the ball is in your court once again.
Yes,
the men are waiting to hear what you have to say.
The world is on pause right now.
We expect you to tell us if you've been in love at first sight.
I'm excited to hear this.
Since I was growing up, I always looked at the Disney movies, and I always wanted to know why the girls would be so, enamored of the boys, just by, you just see somebody and you're just madly in love, head over heels. And from that early age, I think I would have formulated in my mind that there's no such thing. And I think I would have grew to understand and experience that there isn't anything as love at first sight. I would agree with everybody else that there is an attraction that arouses interest. And then you might want to investigate that through whatever means, as Danielle would have stated, through dating. And then you get to the part where you get to know things about that individual, which is applying an intelligent side to what you're feeling, to the attraction. So after then, you can then decide if this is worth going on with or not, because then is when you would get to know things like compatibility and all of that. So I don't believe there's anything as love at first sight. However, I believe that you must be attracted to something that you love.
All right. All right. So this is so deep this afternoon that we're discussing here. I want to say welcome to Kivian Kadagon. So happy to have you. It's interesting, Lizelle, because while Lizelle typed this, when she posted this, Danielle was speaking, and I was really and truly trying to collate the discussion with her comment there, and she said yes, there's love at first sight. Because 17 years ago she met this guy who came to the front door, and he told her he liked her and wanted to marry her, and then something just ran through her body right away. Because I think I really need us to just dive a little bit into her comment here to see what we can extract from there. Is that really love at first sight? And so something ran through her body. She was shy, but then she felt the same way. I mean, immediate, you know what I'm saying? And she never had a boyfriend before. She didn't know what to expect, but then they're married for 15 years now and still going. So, gentlemen and lady, quickly, anybody want to touch on our point? Is that love at first sight?
No. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Paul, go ahead.
No,
Great Paul.
No, this brings me right back to what I said. Every once in a while, you will find it, but it is rare. And even then, it is a gamble. For some people, they just have the one opportunity where they look at a thing without even trying it. They take it, carry it home, and it works, right? And like I said, it is a rare thing, but it is not something that I recommend. But like I said, I know people for whom it has worked, right? Just like all right, we are Christians, we are in the church, but every once in a while, there is an old chap who smokes a pack of cigarettes every day and drinks a quarter bottle of rum, and he lives to be 95. You and I try that, we'd be dead at 50, right?
Or less.
So because the man who is the exception manages to drink every day and smoke every day and lives to be 95, doesn't mean that we should try it, simply because he is the exception. And you can't base the rule, the general rule, on the exception, right? There's a lot of people who knock generalizations because they say generalizations can't be quantified. But the fact is that there is value to a generalization, because generally speaking, you and I do that, we'd be dead early, right? So because generally that is what happens. But every once in a while, there's the exception, right? So so I stick by my point. Every once in a while, it will work for some, but it is not something that is every day, and I don't recommend it myself.
All right, thank you.
What I would say is this: have you ever looked at a mango tree, and then you see a real rosy ripe mango, and it just, if you're a mango lover, you say, what would I do to get a mango like this? And you end up climbing the tree and go to get the mango. And when you get to the mango, you realize on the other side that you were not able to see. The birds already start eat that thing and so on. And the mango is nothing like what you intended. So I always tell people, I always tell people, everything that you do in life, everybody, you're attracted to them at first time. When I saw my wife for the first time, I remember telling one of Pastor Lindy's sons, I think it was Cort Lindy, I said to him, boy, I'm going to marry this girl one of them days, Trust me, I'm going to marry this girl, I didn't know much about her, but from what I saw, I said, boy, this girl is a good girl. I'm going to marry this girl one day, But at the end of the day, many of us can say the same. I remember when I was around 17, I was in love with this girl. I think I was in love with this girl. I thought I could cross the ocean for her. But what happened is is when I got to know certain things, I recognize that, boy, wait, I need to back out. No, don't get me wrong. I believe God, if you are praying to God for someone and you see that person, God can impress on your heart and say, this is the person. I mean, this is the one. I mean, this is the one I've chosen for you. But I believe, generally speaking, I believe attraction leads. So I believe my sister who's married to her husband now for 15 years, when she saw him, she may have seen everything she wanted in a man. And when she looked at him and said, this is a man I would want to be with. But I'm sure if when she got to know him, she realized he had 5 children with 5 different women and so on, she would have said, not me. I'm not going along in that road. Even if she had all the butterflies and everything. So I believe, what I will still say, I believe there is a difference between intense attraction and that decision that this is the person for me. And I believe, so I don't like to say love at first sight. I always say attraction to person. I mean, at first sight. I mean, it's like when you see the trailer, you want to see the whole movie. I mean, it's something like, there are some trailers that you see and you say, no, I'm not going to waste my time and watch this movie. But there are some trailers that you see and you say, I have to see this movie there based on the trailer. So I said, she saw the trailer and it's just that the movie was as good as the trailer. So I'm happy that I'm happy for her. And it's a wonderful feeling. It's always good to the person that you are most attracted to become the person that you spend the rest of your life with. But I believe sometimes what happens is that young people see persons and get so attracted head over heels, they make bad decisions and then they realize this is not the person I love and the person I want to be with. And I believe is like they say, take it slow, take time to know her, as Aaron never say, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. At the end of the day, I'll take your time and know the person, and I believe out of that you can grow in love with that person.
All right, thank you so much. Anybody else, Daniel or Anessa, you wanna just make a comment on her statement?
What I'll say is this. If you look the path that a regular relationship follows, boy meets girl, boy likes girl, or it might be vice versa, you know. They date and then they get married. All right, let's just follow that regular path. Now, for many persons, in following that path, it may not work out that way. Boy likes girl, they meet, and then when they date, they figure out that this thing can't work.
Mm-hmm.
But there are cases where even sometimes the first person that you meet, the boy meet the girl, they feel a strong attraction for each other at first. They date, they figure out that we can actually work, and they get married and it works. I believe that is possible, yes, but that in itself to me is not proof of love at first sight, because like I said, love is based on certain principles that you cannot ascertain for yourself in that instant that you see that person. All right, there's so much more that love is based on that is far beyond visual and the visual and the physical, in which you can look and you can see immediately what's happening with this person, right? Also, if we reflect on what we were talking about earlier with infatuation and lust, these can be very, very strong feelings, very, very strong feelings, and they cause you to feel, well, yes, this is it, Persons become speechless, sweaty palms, their hearts start racing, butterflies in their stomach, and all of these things. Sometimes when they see somebody that's appealing to them for the first time. Now, these feelings do not make it love, but there is a possibility that when they feel all of these things and they talk to that person, it can work out, which I believe is what happened in this case. But it does not mean that is love at first sight, because love is not something that just appears. Love is something that you must work at.
All right. Thank you so much. Unless you have any submission on that point that she made, that Lizelle made. All right. But Lizelle, I'm so happy that worked for you, girlfriend. I mean, so many other persons wish that this person can just appear, Danielle, and butterflies could appear, and then it go into a wonderful, well, talking about growing into, it leads me to my next question. Let me don't elaborate much on that. Persons want to know, and this is another frequent question that came from our young people. Persons want to know if infatuation can grow into love. So while you ponder on that question, I want to say welcome to Andrea. Andrea Munroe, welcome. Good to see you here. Welcome to Liliana. Um, take your time and peel your pine. Yes. Hi, Annalisa. Welcome to you also. Those of you who are watching live, remember, don't blame anybody. I don't want anybody who looking and then there are people on your page who will say to you like what Annalisa is saying, why people didn't invite her to listen live. So share it one time on your page so that no, you will not be accountable to anybody who did not get to see this program live. All right, great. So let's go to the question. Can infatuation lead to love?
Let me say this quickly. I think yes, it can. I believe some persons may enter a relationship with wrong intentions sometimes. I mean, solely attracted to the person physically, and by getting to know the person and so forth, and by spending time together, you realize that it's far beyond that selfish motive that you had or that selfish desire, and then you grow to love that person. So I believe, I mean, there are some people who enter a relationship with wrong motives from day one, but within that time frame, a lot happens and it changes their whole mindset and so forth. I believe age has a lot to do with it too. I believe certain times in your life, what you think is love is really not love, and you're just infatuation. But as you get older, your whole frame of mind changes and so forth. So when you're in your teens and so on, you might say, "But I love the person because of their physical attraction," and that's all you see. You only see them in that physical way. But as you get older, you start ask yourself deeper questions like, and the person may have an accident. The person will get older. Things will change. The person will put on weight and they will not look the same again. And then you realize, and as you mature, that infatuation can be transformed into love. So I believe it has happened many times. Persons enter with the wrong motive. They're infatuated over the person, but by spending time together and so on, that infatuation and with the impression of God's love and the Holy Spirit, it is transformed into a wonderful, selfless love relationship.
Oh, thank you for that. All right, anybody else on that? I'll take one more.
I believe Pastor explained it quite well. There are cases, like I mentioned before, in which these strong feelings of attraction that you have initially, you follow it up and you find out that there is some substance there that you can build on, and it can lead to a love relationship. So yes.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Daniel. All right, so Marcel, welcome to you. Marcel is concurring with what Pastor Brent would have said. Yes, it can, but she's willing to wait now. Too much risk. All right, but Marcel is married now, so I guess your waiting paid off. So the other question is it possible to have perfect, quote unquote, love? Is there anything like perfect love?
I see Paul shaking his head.
There is something as perfect love. It's just that you might not have it with another human being.
All right.
Let me say very quickly. Sorry, go ahead. You're speaking. Go ahead.
We live in a world with imperfections and with people that are broken in various ways, and we ourselves are broken in various ways, and so we wouldn't be able to love someone perfectly. We would make mistakes, and we are humans, and we must be mindful of our nature of imperfection, and so no two imperfect people can love perfectly. But I think that people would tend to say that our love is perfect because it is very satisfying to those people. It's very satisfying to the point where I call it perfect, but still it's not perfect because we would make mistakes in the process of loving each other, because we're learning about each other and we would make mistakes. And the only person that can love perfectly is God.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Munroe.
Now, what I was going to say very quickly is that there are no perfect people. And because there are no perfect people, you can't have any perfect marriages either, right? If you're married long enough, you will know that there will be points of disagreement, points of agreement, and because two individuals who might share some things in common, but they still maintain their individuality, because just like how no two zebras have the same stripes and no two humans have the same fingerprint, there are minute differences which will cause friction, but then there's compromise, right? To resolve those differences. But there's no such thing as as perfect love. The only thing I would say is that you can have perfect hearts in that you think perfectly about the ideals that we are taught to strive for. That's the perfection, that we learn through our spiritual path, right? About what love should be. And so that is the perfection to which we strive, which once we follow could make that love get too close to perfect. But I mean, especially look, when you realize that love is not perfect, forget the two people who are married. Think of your children. Once you have children, you'll realize that love is not perfect, simply because there are going to be things that you're going to love about your child and things that you're going to strongly dislike about that child. And that child has come out of you, and you have to love them unconditionally for that reason. Because it's not as if when you send them off to school, they ain't coming back to you at night, or you could decide, I don't like you anymore, go by your grandparents and don't come back. You have to keep and take them all the time. So I think that children are a true test of love, because, well, no matter what they do, you still have to accept and you still have to love them.
Yes.
And you will know that because different children have different gifts, different attributes, different personality types, you will learn that you love each of them differently, though you love all of them equally, right?
Yeah.
It's as if you have a different kind of love for each child. And so when you realize that, you'll realize that, there's no such thing as perfect love, not even for your own flesh and blood.
All right, thank you so much. All right, go Pastor Brent, yeah.
I'm trying to bring a different perspective. I hope I don't get myself in trouble for this perspective.
Go right ahead.
I mean, because I think of when the Bible says in Genesis that the Bible says, and it pained the heart of God that he made man. I mean, essentially, God almost regretted that he made man when man sinned and so forth. That the Bible says. But we say that God loves us perfectly, but at some point he was so disappointed in our decision that in the days of Noah, that God said, boy, I should have made them in the first place. And it reminds me even in a marriage, even in a love relationship, sometimes the person that you love so much, you sometimes get so hurt or so troubled that you say, but I wonder if that is really, I made the right decision. There are sometimes that you have that. But when I think of perfect love, I think of a love that says, not loving you is not an option. I mean, it means no matter what happens, we go tough it through. I mean, and because as Paul was saying, sometimes your child would do something and you're angry at them, you might beat them, but at the end of the day, even when they cry, you want to cry with them, because is that love you have for them is so deep that you being angry at them or you being disappointed in their behavior does not change your love for them. And I believe
you can't send them away. And you can't send them away. so I believe to love them.
I believe where we need to get to into a relationship, into as far as love is concerned, I believe the goal is where not loving is not an option. So being married to my wife now, I said to myself, no matter what happens, I mean, you get big, you get small, you get sick, you are well, you rich, you poor, whatever it is, I've made that commitment that I'm going to love you regardless. And I believe that's what makes love so special. And I say, if to me that's what I consider perfect, and I put it in quotation mark, perfect love, a love that says no matter what comes our way, we are sticking it out and we've made the decision to love each other forever.
Amen. All right. Even before Danielle, I think if you have any feedback, I'll jump to take you just now. But Pastor Brent, 2 questions came in here from Dylan Basil. I know Dylan, you should know Dylan, and I know Dylan wants to us to explore the theological aspect here. He has a question that says, how does Colossians 3:14 fit here? Seeing it says love is the bond of perfection. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you can deliberate on it, you can. But I'm going to give you the thinking time while I'll give Danielle the opportunity to speak now.
I believe my answer may touch on that, while it might not be biblical. However, when I think of perfection, I think of a situation in which you have realized that there is nothing more that you can add. There's nothing more that you can do to make this thing better, right? It has reached the greatest, purest form that it can be. To me, that is what perfection is all about, right? It's perfect. It cannot be made better in any way or form. And I do not believe that there is anyone who could look at their relationship and come to a conclusion that there is no improvement that I can make. All right. And so I will lean to Paul as well as Pastor in saying that, especially when Paul said that, to me, being imperfect beings, it is not likely that we can be able to express a perfect love. Definitely. All right. And there is always, when you look at your marriage, for example, when I look at my marriage, if I'm to make a list right now, there will be a number of areas that I believe that we can make improvements in. Persons on the outside may be looking and saying, "Y'all look so good and so nice," and the rest of it. But that does not mean that we were the pinnacle. All right. And I think that is where the confusion comes when people look and they see what's going on. But like, oh, people say, come see me and come live with me. It's two different things, eh?
Yeah.
So there is always room for improvement. And some way to better your relationship. All right. That is why one commentator said that love and marriage, you're forever in the classroom. You're forever learning. The time you start to the time you end, you're always learning, always striving, always trying to improve. And from that basis, it does not fit the definition of what perfection is.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Before I take Pastor Brent, I just want to shout out to Anita Smith. I'm so happy that you're joining with us today. Hi, Tiana. Welcome, Miss Tappin. Andrea, well, if you realize, I'm not saying much on this program here, not giving much addition to what people are saying, because I am learning and I'm taking my lessons from these experienced individuals who are speaking to us here. So, yes, Andrea, I'm taking counsels this afternoon. All right, great. So, Pastor Brent, go right ahead.
Yeah, quickly. When we look at the word perfect, you see, I always tell people, the greatest challenge we can have, or the greatest misconception we can have, is to take a generic word and bring it across languages. And that's why I said perfect in quotations, because the English understanding of perfect, it cannot be attained by imperfect people. So and because of our understanding of the word perfect means without fault whatsoever. And I'm saying there is no relationship in this world that can say it is beyond reproach and everything is there is nothing that can be changed to make it better. And even when the Bible says, "Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect," the Bible is not saying that we have to be exactly like God. There is no way in a sinful flesh we can be exactly like God. So I always tell you, when the word perfect in the Greek is used in the New Testament, it does more in terms, not just a physical state, but also in terms of a principle and a decision. And I believe that's how people get it confused. That's why people talk about sinless perfection, and they talk about Christians can be perfect and so on. There is no way a sinful being can be perfect. I mean, in our understanding of the word perfect in our English vocabulary and the etymology of the word. But at the end of the day, when we look at perfect in the Bible, it has to do with more of a principle. So I believe Paul, because Paul himself said, not like I already attained, nor
Yes.
am I perfect. But what I do, I keep pressing towards the mark for the prize of the. So I believe perfection is more intent rather than a state of being, as far as the Bible is concerned.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Excellent. All right, great. So we're moving on. This question here, by the way, audience, if you have any question to ask on love and you think we haven't explored some area that would have been troubling you for the past years or whatever, feel free to ask your question. As long as we have time, we will address it. But I want to ask this final question on love before we take I want to ask this final question on love before I deal with compatibility, and we're just going to look at compatibility in its broad sense, right? How important it is for the relationship. So you can ponder on that as we deal with this final question on love itself. And the question says, is jealousy a sign of love? And I want to hear all of you men, because I know when I speak to ladies, you will hear ladies saying, this man too jealous, right? I mean, yeah, I heard men say that too. Like this is his wife don't want him to talk to no other female friends and whatever. She always getting jealous. But so is jealousy a sign of love? And before you answer me this question also, I want to know, how many years have you guys been married for, just for the audience information's sake? Go, Paul.
Well,
So, Paul?
let me give a short answer for the first time in my life. Jealousy is a sign of insecurity.
Correct.
I don't see that as love at all.
All right.
Because if you are secure, you wouldn't be jealous at all. I mean, all right, you asked the question. I've been married for 13 years this year, but like I said, me and my wife have been friends for 21 years. But the fact of the matter is this, and it's simple. I mean, my wife used to be going on vacation without me, and I never stopped her. I mean, I was in the US as a student. She's going across to Trinidad to visit friends. She went to Antigua to visit friends. I'm up in the States, right? Just in the same way I left her back in Guyana and went up to the States. She's not controlling my movements, right? So, you know, if you are jealous, it's weeks of insecurity. You've got to have trust to be able to manage jealousy.
All right, thank you so much. So the shortest answer ever recorded in history. I'm just kidding. All right, I want to say welcome to Karen. I'm so happy that you're joining us this afternoon. All right, so Anessa, I know you returned. So the question on the table is jealousy a sign of love?
I wouldn't say it's bad to be jealous if the person that you're in love with is giving you reasons to be jealous, such as, well, I don't know if he is actually in love with you, if he's going to make you feel jealous by doing things in front of you with people that he should only be doing with you, or she. So I'm saying that even God is jealous and he loves us. If we do things that makes God jealous, I mean, he would be, and the Bible speaks of God's jealousy. I don't know if it's in the same light that we take it, but I think of it as he doesn't want us to be doing things that we should be doing with him. In the same way, it is wrong to do things that is like should be only done with your spouse, your partner, your girlfriend, your fiance, whoever it is that you're in the relationship with another person. You would make this person feel jealous. And so, I don't know, I think I would be honest, I would be jealous if somebody does that to me. I would be upset. I would be infuriated, let me be exact.
So
if you're doing things with other people that you should be doing with me alone, I would be upset. I would be vexed. Right?
Testify, sister, testify.
Hallelujah, amen.
So, Anessa, in a nutshell, what you're saying that in your context, the example and the illustration you would have shared with us this afternoon is that jealousy is a sign of love. Is that, can I conclude that in a nutshell based on your illustration?
It depends on the situation. If it's no. If it's something where this person is not doing anything and every little thing is just you're just viewing that as okay, this person is cheating on me. The person is talking to somebody, you're getting upset. No, I see that as controlling. I see that as you being insecure. I see that as you having issues with yourself. Maybe your self-esteem needs to be checked because you have personal issues that need to be dealt with, because you are finding normal human exchange conversations as to be jealous. So if it's something like that, then no. But if it's something where you're giving me reasons to be jealous, yeah, it is a sign that I love you. Yes, I love you. I don't want you to do this with anybody else because I love you and I feel that you should do that with me alone. Yes.
Shiniki,
Yes, Daniel.
I understand where Anessa is coming from, right? And I will say yes and no. Now, to me, this jealousy thing, it's a very tricky something.
Yeah.
And I was even forced, I was just looking at the dictionary here, the dictionary up on my phone. I was forced to consult the dictionary because I believe that there is some amount of confusion there with it.
Go right
Now,
ahead.
I see three things coming out quickly. One is suspicion. The second, three definitions. One talks about being suspicious, one about being protective, and the other one about being envious. All right? Now, I don't think we're going to get into the envious part, so we will put it aside for now. But God says, I'm a jealous God. I think that's talking in the protective sense, right? I'm a jealous God. I want to protect, ensure that you're all right, ensure that, you don't do certain things, that your safety and everything is intact. And I see one person in the comments saying that jealousy can be a healthy emotion in this sense of protecting the persons, right? Because I will not want my wife to be in any situation that I believe in some way or the other would in any way take away from her protection. All right. I will try as a man to protect her in that way. But that side of jealousy that deals with being suspicious, in which you're trying to find issues and faults in everything that the person is doing. And I think this oftentimes is the one that most persons speak to. You're always looking and you're always imagining that there is something there. I believe that this is very, very unhealthy because oftentimes it while in some cases there may be proof, I believe that when you start having proof of certain things, then it moves away from being jealous and suspicious, and you actually have some accusation or whatever that you can deal with. But when you're suspicious, you're always looking for something. And then I remember in marriage counseling, Pastor Patterson told us, he said, if you're looking for a problem, you will always find one.
Definitely.
All right, you will always find one. All right, and so when you get into this whole suspicious mind frame, everything becomes a problem. Everything becomes a problem. The devil will put things there to fool you into believing that your suspicions, they're accurate and you actually have proof here. But like Paul would have said, it comes from a sense of insecurity. There is something that you're not sure about yourself. You're not sure in the relationship, and that causes a number of problems. Just quickly before I close, I remember seeing a clip from, I believe it was Jerry Springer, one of those shows, in which
Testify.
I'm laughing already.
Yeah. The young lady's phone. No, it wasn't Jerry Springer. One of these judge shows.
Okay.
Divorce court.
Oh.
Her cell phone destroyed that relationship because the young man was very suspicious, and the fact that she was there on her phone, he always believes she's always messaging someone, she's always doing something with someone, and that became a huge issue because he did not trust the relationship, right? And that told me that the relationship to begin with was pretty shaky. All right, I have my phone, I'm on my phone, my wife does not come. Who you texting? Who you talking to? I want to see what you're doing. And I'm not that way with her either because I trust her and I trust the relationship, that what we have is way beyond just somebody trying to jump into her inbox and then she'll just go straight based on that. And so I will say yes and no. Yes, in that I'm protective, I care, I want to ensure that everything is good about this person. But at the same time, no, because you do not want to get into that whole suspicious side of things.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the submissions. Go right ahead, Pastor Brent.
Yeah, quickly, and hopefully the shortest answer in the universe. I believe sometimes we give jealousy some things that it is not. I always say there's a massive difference between obsession, paranoia, and jealousy. I mean, some people are just obsessed with you. They don't want you to talk to anybody else and so forth. But I believe, like Daniel brought out too, I mean, the longer a relationship goes, is the less these things surface. But especially in the early part of a love relationship, these things will surface. That insecurity. I mean, you get to know the person and you find that person spending too much time with somebody and not me. I believe that could be healthy. I believe out of that, good can come out of it. And I believe, so I do not look at jealousy as a bad word in terms of, because there are different meanings, as Daniel was saying. But I believe there's a part of jealousy that makes you feel, if I go out whole day and I come back home and my wife acts as if I was always home, is a reason to make me feel like, but is this really I'm good? I mean, if I'm talking to this woman all day and my wife is there, she does not say, Brent, why are you talking to this woman so long? Or I mean, give me some time as well. If she doesn't say that, then I would say, but wait, I mean, this woman doesn't have any. I mean, she should be. Some say that is a part of jealousy as well. I mean, that insecurity sometimes. But I believe we only look at the bad part of jealousy. But I believe the jealousy in terms of that little insecurity helps in the early part of a relationship. And I believe as a couple loves each other more, they get to know each other more, they trust each other more. Then it goes less and less and less as the relationship progresses. But I believe there's a healthy jealousy in the early part of a relationship, and I believe that our relationship can grow from that. If you ask.
All right, thank you. All right, so okay, go ahead.
If I can jump in for a moment. Now, I guess you can argue that there are degrees, in jealousy. But I don't think that if my wife is demanding time because I was out during the day, I wouldn't call that jealousy. That's something different. When I got married, a very Christian lady said to me, now this is unrelated, but it makes sense. She says, make sure you kiss lovingly, lingeringly, and longingly. Now, so I would like to think that if my wife wants a little bit of my time, having been out all day, it's more longing than jealousy. I think it's a different thing. It's not quite jealousy, but I understand what you're saying. But I don't think there's jealousy. It's just longing, right? You've been out all the time. She wants a part of you. She wants your time. It's more longing than jealousy. But anyway, there's no clear answer to some of these things.
All right, thank you. So imagine, so Paul, I wanted to give you the winning. You actually had the shortest response. Because when Pastor Brent spoke and then he said that, okay, he's going to be the shortest, I would give you win, but then afterwards you came in and make another additional point. So you would have lost the victory here this afternoon.
Well, I've got to make up for my height. I'm a short guy.
All right, so I want to welcome my sister, both of my sisters are listening, Stacy and Sasha. Well, I want to welcome both of you this afternoon. Lisa, I'm so happy to have you. Lisa's been making some wonderful comments. So, hi, Monique. It's good to see you here this afternoon. I'm happy that I have a lot of married people viewing this program this afternoon. I'm so elated about that. So, we're coming down to the issue of, with a few minutes we have remaining, I think we have to touch on the aspect of compatibility. I wouldn't really ask you much questions on that, but I just want to ask you, how important is compatibility as it relates to love and the relationship in its general context?
I think that compatibility is the foundation that determines the longevity of a relationship. And the reason why is because if you cannot agree on matters of everyday life, why are you even together? You would not survive a day together. You would just keep quarreling, and it would add to the burdens of the relationship, and it would tear you apart because you're not walking on the same road. And compatibility doesn't just go with we're going to the same church and we believe the same thing. That's one aspect of compatibility. That's spiritual compatibility. There is emotional compatibility. There is even social compatibility. There is so many other aspects of compatibility and just agreeing on things and matters of everyday life. And if you don't have this in check, then the relationship is just not happening. It's not going to last. You might have a genuine attraction for each other, but because you cannot see things eye to eye, you're going to always have, you're going to end up very dissatisfied. You're going to end up not satisfied and fill in this component that we refer to as the love tank of an individual, because people have their love languages, and if your love language is different from the other person and you're not filling their love tank on a daily basis, then that relationship is dissatisfying and it doesn't make sense to stay in a relationship. So it's very important to have someone that you are compatible with, especially when we know that we're living in a world where things are already hard. We're human beings and we make so much mistakes and we're so imperfect. So we must, it's very, very, very important. And I stress that a lot, that we need to be compatible when we're in relationships.
All right, thank you, Miss Anessa. You know, Anessa, sometimes I wonder really and truly, girl, the man that marries Anessa, you guys, you're lucky. You that's all I would say this afternoon. You are a very, very lucky young man. Or a gentleman. I'm gonna take your comments now.
Well, let me say quickly. I agree with Anessa. Okay, I agree with Anessa quickly that compatibility is crucial. I mean, when you look at compatibility, look at spiritual compatibility. I mean your compatibility in values. I mean, the worst thing you can find in a relationship is people who get married and they're not compatible in terms of their values and their spirituality. I believe it can cause a lot of problems, not just in the relationship, but in raising children. It can be a weapon of mass destruction. And I believe that's what people don't, people say because you're attracted to someone, oh yes, that's good. But the worst thing is that when that attraction does not last, attraction is not enough to keep a relationship. I believe compatibility is what really cements a relationship, that you can talk, you have similar interests, similar concerns, similar values, similar principles. I believe these are the things. And I believe many people fail in their love relationships because they did not consider compatibility as one of the primary ingredients. So to those young people watching, especially those who are not yet married, ensure that when you get in love with someone, that you look that you are compatible, you share the same values in terms of raising children. Some people have counseled couples who learning for the first time that one didn't want children and one want five. And I mean, at the end of the day, they are not compatible because the idea of family, their concept of family is so different. So make sure that I would rate compatibility above physical attraction. That's how much I consider compatibility. Because at the end of the day, you can grow to love somebody even if you may not be all into their looks. But at the end of the day, you can be in love with someone because of their looks. And when you see the bad side of them and you cannot be compatible, you'll be like a dog and a cat fighting in the household the whole night. And the neighbors would know that things not going good at all. So compatibility to me is crucial.
Oh, thank you, Pastor Brent. Thank you.
Yeah, Shibiki. I must agree with the gentleman before me in that, especially Pastor Brent, in that when it comes to your spirituality, first and foremost, as well as your principles, your values, that you must be compatible with that person. I remember years ago, I had a Jehovah's Witness young lady who was interested in me. And one of the questions I asked her, I said, which day will the children go to church? And that question destroyed everything because we could not see eye to eye on that issue. So as it relates to those things, you must be compatible. But then there's the other side of compatibility that deals with everyday activities and your interests and those things. When it comes to that, I believe that it depends on the individual. Some persons like to have someone with the same interests. If I like watching sports, I want someone who also likes watching and participating in sports. While there may be persons who look for some amount of diversity because they want to learn, they want to experience, they want to try new things. All right. For example, some persons could not understand how my wife and I are together because I am very loud and she's very quiet. I am messy and confusing, and she's very neat and clean. All right, and some
Stop
other
telling
areas.
my story there, man. Stop telling my story.
All right. So as it relates to those areas, it comes down on a personal basis. What you prefer? Do you prefer someone who is doing the same things like you or different? And at the same time, I believe that a little bit of diversity, it helps. A little bit of diversity in those areas, it helps. It keeps things interesting. You're able to learn and participate. Yeah. But of course, bottom line, as it relates to spirituality, as it relates to principles and values, compatibility is essential. It is very, very important.
All right.
Now,
thank you.
Now, I would like to say that we must never imagine that compatibility doesn't include difference. Because when you think about two things being compatible, you must remember compatibility is bringing together two completely different items. Like when you're mixing water and sugar. Water and sugar are completely different, right? So in compatibility, there is difference. And there must be.
Correct.
Because think of how boring things would be if you're both so alike. And there's nothing saying
exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing saying that two people can't like the same things and get along, right? And similarly, exactly. there you can't say that there are if people are so different they might not be able to get along, because one of the laws of attraction by Newton in physics is that unlikes attract, right? And the unlikes attract for a reason. Because if there is a messy person, there's got to be one who likes cleanliness. If there's one who's loud, there's got to be a quiet one. Or you'd have too much. You'd have too much of the one thing circulating, right? And I mean, it's funny that compatibility is still flowing into the last question that we just left. But again, I got a cousin who was married for 54 years. By the time I was deciding to get married. And, she said something to me once. And again, she married a pastor too. She said, Paul, I can tell you something. Don't get me wrong. I love my husband. She said, but just know that a woman could sometimes do without having a man around. In other words, don't be a pest. Right? So sometimes be a little bit scarce. Be different and don't always be, so invasive and whatever else, right? So, and it's the same thing with compatibility. I draw that into compatibility because you've got to have things that are different that you're interested in, so that sometimes you get lost in your own little world, so that you don't necessarily cross each other in a way that is not that is unbearable. right? So compatibility has to do with some amount of difference. What you've got to do is decide what is different that you could accept and what is different that you can't accept, like it was mentioned before. And I'll give you one of the classic cases of incompatibility. And this is a case that is regional, if not international. Shibiki is too young to know that Guyana's Prime Minister, Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister Hamilton Green, no, let me back up a little. Jamaica's Prime Minister, P.J. Patterson, was married to Shirley Field Ridley, who was the Minister of Education in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
They met as students overseas and they got married. Two bright people, right? But guess what? He was too Jamaican to live in Guyana, and she was too Guyanese to live in Jamaica. And they both were compatible on one point. They both didn't want to live in the white man country, right? They didn't want to live in a big Western society, which is where they studied, because I guess they experienced enough racism and saw the reason why they wouldn't want to stay there. But then none of them wanted to live in each other's country. Now, who would have thought? Two people in love, they're bright, they're regionally recognized, because Shirley Field Ridley was one of Burnham's brightest ministers. She was the Minister of Education. And P.J. Patterson, bright spark. But they just wouldn't live in each other's countries, and they decided to get a divorce on that. So that when Shirley Field Ridley married to Hamilton Green, that was Hamilton Green's first wife, she got married to Hamilton Green, and when she died, P.J. Patterson came to her funeral and he wept like a baby. He sobbed like an uncontrollable child, because there was nothing wrong with their love. They were perfectly tight with each other, but just wouldn't live in each other's countries. So you got to decide.
All right, I notice all right, good. I that one is so deep. That one touched me to the core of my heart, because like I can't imagine, because I'm sitting here thinking, would I have given up a love because of country? But I guess I don't know what to say. But coming to USA, I know I've made me more open-minded, because my thoughts, it was never to, I always, even before coming here, I'm like, I'm not gonna marry anybody else besides a Guyanese. That was like my thought. But then when you come here and you're being exposed to so many different persons, you're open now to, for me, I would not but limit myself just only, I can't imagine divorce just because of that, but they have to know that.
No, but there's a common thread that would bind you with people you meet at USC. And that common thread which binds is that you're all Seventh-day Adventists. So that your faith and your religion are your unifying factor, right? And then let's face it, you'll quickly realize that women are represented in church in greater numbers than men are.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you were to stick to one territory, you will realize that you ain't got enough men to go around in the church, which is another source of contention. Because every man in the church is either married or spoken for. When I say spoken for, is promised to somebody, right? I mean, they're interested in somebody else. They might either be married or interested in somebody else. And I hate to say this about any human being, but the few who are left over that maybe nobody wants to get married to, you mightn't want either, right? Because there's a reason why the few who are left over, because some of them probably got some really messed up ways, which is why nobody married them. And the reason I say that is, I have been in church all my life. And I've sat around in all the backroom men's discussions among men. And there are some chaps whose disposition about life, about women, about spirituality, the role and function of who and what in the family would make you know that God help the woman who married that, right? And the funny thing is, they're the ones sometimes trying to mentor young men as to what to take and what not to take. And some wives will tell the husband, I don't want to see you lying in with brother so and so. And it's because word is out that this savage old boar, right, would corrupt a perfectly reasonable man, right? So, knowing all of that, you better jolly well soften up your stance about which nationality you will accept or won't accept, because you've got to consider what potentially viable, marryable, if there's such a word, candidates exist in your territory. Because the other thing is, the more educated you become, the more exposed you become to different cultures and thing and so, is when you get to realize that sometimes you may have outgrown any of the persons whom you may have previously considered because your worldview has changed. Right? So you got to ask yourself if who you got left back home still satisfies your standards for what you would want in a man, knowing that your whole view might have made you outgrow anybody you know. Which again, and I hate to monopolize this, but brings me to Anessa a little bit. The one thing you've got to know, right, is that the more educated you become, sometimes it becomes more difficult to get married.
That's a
fact. Because men got all kinds of insecurities.
Egos.
Because if the woman is educated, she'll have a mind of her own. And some chaps don't want to know that they got a thinking wife, right? And especially if the wife a little bit more educated and she's articulate and, you know, she could really, really analyze and put two and two together, some men might feel intimidated. I know personally of such a case, a young lady who lives right here in Trinidad. She and I taught together at Queen's College years ago. She was head of the science department, bright girl. And, you know, she realizing that, you know, her brilliance used to intimidate men because she was bright. She was, you know, was going up and up in her profession because she was head of a department when she was still in her 20s, right? And science at that, right? Brilliant scientist, head of a department at a top school in the country. She is active in the church and youth life and that kind of thing. And in addition to all of that, she was a very strong personality because she was a cadet officer in the army. So, you know, this is a woman who is really, you know, and I considered her, I mean, if I hadn't met my wife, I might have considered her because I liked her, right? But I considered her the perfect candidate. But again, we were professional, confession. But we were professional equals, right? Because she was a teacher, I was a teacher. And so there was no intimidation on my part, right? And because she was a cadet officer, she was fit, so you could imagine the body and all that kind of thing. But so she had brain and body. But the point is that when she realized that she was getting to be when she was getting to be in her early 30s. But don't worry, I knew her before I knew my wife. I'm going back to 1998. 1998. I met my wife in 1999. But at any rate, the joke of the matter is that when she realized that she was in her early 30s and no viable candidate was coming up, she started to court a guy who was less than her equal in that he never went to university. He finished high school, don't know with how many subjects, but he never went to university. He used to work on a trawler, so he was a fisherman, right? And she decided, look, before none, any, right? I mean, I don't mean it in the worst sense, before none, any, but decided, look, if you're not finding people on your level who would take you, and you don't want to be a lonely woman, you might as well marry somebody. So she decided to start courting him. Well, they started courting. And all was going fine because she and I kept in touch, and I was happy for her. She found somebody she was in love with, and things were going well with them. Until she decided to come to Trinidad and go to law school, because she told me she got bored with science. This is how bright she is, eh? She got bored with science. She came to Trinidad and did law and thing, and now she is a state prosecutor. But the point is this: she decided to study law, and when she decided to go for a second degree plus a legal certificate of education, he told her bluntly she too educated for him, right? And he became very insecure. He became very insecure, and he allowed his family and older men friends to tell him, "Hey, boy, you don't mess with a female lawyer. There's worries." And so he backed out of the relationship, although she didn't see him in a different light and wasn't prepared to judge him. She was still willing to proceed with him in tow as part of her life. She didn't see that as a disqualifier, but he did. And that thing broke her heart. You know, till now she is single and she has never gotten over it because she actually loved him. She didn't care that he was not her equal. So, you know, you gotta realize that sometimes you gotta step down a little bit, right, Anessa?
Shabiki.
I missed that part. My internet decided to fluctuate. Then I need to catch back on that part.
Yes, hear this, right?
What I was saying when you dropped out. What I was saying when you dropped out is that she didn't see her accession to more qualifications as a disqualifier. She was still willing to move forward with him in her life. But he decided that she was too qualified and he bowed out. So what I was basically teasing Anessa and saying is that you're so, I mean, I'm impressed. She's articulate, she's good looking, she's a bright girl and everything. You might find it difficult, and therefore you might have to think, hey, I might go down, take a step down rather than a step up. And then you might have to bring him up, and Shibeki, them men might be afraid of the pastor lady because the pastor lady might have too many high standards. So you might have to step down too. But anyway.
I was going to
pray for them, sister. Pray for them.
I was going to comment and say that maybe your friend that you shared in the experience, she doesn't sound like a person who is strongly sapiosexual, meaning she's not attracted to the intelligence maybe in another person, or maybe she decided to not be because of age or whatever it is.
She is. The point is, sometimes there aren't enough of those to go around, and I'm sorry to jump in, but there aren't enough of those to go around sometimes, so she decided to settle, right?
Okay.
I mean, she was in the perfect environment, because when we were teaching at Queen's College together, there were no less than about 4 to 6 men on the staff, because nearly 80 of us on the staff. There were between 4 to 6 men who were very qualified and single, right? So it's not for want of being sapiosexual, but sometimes for one reason or the other, you mightn't hit it off with any of the people who are very intellectual.
It looked like Paul came ready for Anessa. Paul came ready for Anessa this evening.
My sister is telling me if I hear, because the reality of it, even as we wrap up, we have to wrap up now. I'm getting a bit hungry, but the reality of it is that being in Trinidad here, I recognize that we're having that issue, and Paul, you know that, right? Men met me, and they told me that you may find it very men are generally intimidated by you because you're this outspoken person, you're intellectual, and this and the list goes on, and I would just stand there and I would just listen, but there's a reality in which we women are faced with, women who are standing for principles and standards, women who are highly intelligent. We find our men so the only conclusion I always say is that our men out there who are listening, and Paul and Pastor Brent and Danielle, I think you guys need to do some training too, because some of them really and truly need it. That is all I can do.
Let me say this quickly. Let me say this quickly. Quickly and I'm done. I will take 1 minute, the most, and then it's coincidental that this evening, right just this evening, I was sitting in my office doing some work, and a young lady came to me to deal with some adventure company business and so on. And we were talking about, life in general, while we were discussing stuff. And she was telling me that she's seen this young man now and how they're looking at life and so on and so forth. And she said to me, he got baptized in a crusade that I had. And she said to me that while I was doing the appeal and calling folks for baptism, she was sitting under the tent, and she saw him coming up to the altar to get baptized. And then and there she said, boy, with the shortage of good men in the church, she has to attack him early. I mean, from the time he was walking up to the altar to get baptized, she decided, boy, like a hawk, that she started hovering like a hawk, saying, no other woman in the church getting this man before me, and they're together today. And I'm saying that is the sad situation that we've seen in the church today, that we are so short on men that women have to be hovering around, waiting for the next one as soon as he comes and he looks. And sometimes, even if he's not the right person, because of that shortage, they grab because they don't want anybody else to grab before them. And I'm saying, I hear you that the church has to do a lot more in equipping our young men and get our young men ready, because some of the young men that we have, they are not ambitious. They are not, they are very insecure. They are not educated. And at the end of it, the people like Anessa and Shabiki and so on, who can speak properly and so on, they see you and they're frightened. Every time they get up and they see you, they're frightened because they say, boy, this woman is going to overpower me and so forth. But I believe, too, though, one final thing before I close, I'll shut. I believe women are nurturers a lot, but it does seem that they have that gift when they don't take that risk when it comes to men. A woman will take a child and take the child from nothing, broke up and mess up, and nurse that child back to good health. She will do that for a career, she will do that for her friends. But it seems like when it comes to men, women want the man pre-packaged already with all the niceties and everything put together already. And I believe some of the things our women need to learn to do is invest in the man and help him to come up to a certain level. But they don't like doing that because they want him ready and sign, seal, deliver them yours.
Pastor, if I should interject.
Yes, girl.
There are some young men who are not willing to learn. Mm-hmm. When people are satisfied with who they are as an individual, it is not you. You're putting your place in the self of God. When somebody tells you that this is my individuality and I'm not going to change, for you to try to do other things to them when they already feel comfortable and like they have arrived. So you cannot interfere because they're already feeling insecure and threatened, and then you're going to be telling them that you want them to, let's do this, let's do a little bit more of that, maybe you can do this and that, and they're not going to follow because they feel satisfied with who they are as an individual already, and they don't want to learn. So they fight. Period.
All right, go ahead.
There are a lot of young ladies that young ladies that message me from time to time, and they come with a number of similar issues. And I've realized that even as we talk to the issue of compatibility, that you need to find somebody that you're compatible to in terms of their maturity.
Yes.
Because some persons can deal with a certain type of person while others cannot. All right.
True.
And I mean, the men might be angry some men might be angry with me for this, but I've seen a trend in which men want to control women. All right? They want to control women. They do not want to edify themselves. They do not want to set goals and achieve them and just take themselves to the next level. But then when they get with a young lady who's willing to do that, they see that as a threat to their manhood. And they realize that if she is educated and if she's working and she's independent, then that level of control that they want over her, it becomes very challenging for them to have that level of control. And
Yes.
That is the point. That is it.
all right. No, and many young ladies message me sometimes crying and all sorts of stuff with the problems that they have with the young men. But what I keep telling people, and all the young people that are listening, I'll say this, I'm young as well, but when you're planning to get into a relationship, don't just look at what the other person is bringing to the table, but you must look at yourself and look at what you are willing to put to the table. And marriage is all about working together to build each other. And
Yes.
so if the young lady wants to become educated, go ahead. I told my wife once and she laughed, right? I said, listen to me. If you get a job where you're working for 10 times my salary, and
Praise the Lord.
in order to sustain that, I must stay home. I said, ma'am, be prepared to come home to hot meals. I'll be fresh out of the bathroom, some cologne, waiting for you at the door. Because
Rub your foot.
don't know, all right? Because to me, I bring a whole lot of things to the table. And so if she excels in one area, it does not threaten my manhood. As a matter of fact, I graduated from UG last year. And while I was at university, my wife said, I want to do a program, man. I said, go ahead. I encouraged her. She helped me with assignments. I helped her with assignments. And we finished the programs almost at the same time. And I was happy to know that she was achieving. And she was happy to know that I was achieving. And that's the type of relationship that we want. I want her to get promoted at work. She wants me to get promoted at work, because we both realize that the more we can do at our two individual ends, the more we have together as a couple. And I believe that if a lot of the young men understand this, and if they have this mentality and move away from just wanting to control and the rest of it, and actually take up those roles that God has given to the man as being the head of the home and lead by example and actually work and achieve and push the young lady, then all of these issues that we're having, they become frivolous.
Oh, yes. That's the word. That's the word.
Man, Daniel, you have the ladies excited. They agree with you. Shall Vicky catch the Holy Spirit?
No, I was going to say that many times, though, the woman is willing to work with the man and allow him to come up and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes it just doesn't work, right? And I mean, you talk about control. I mean, the program is finished, so we can't go on forever. But the amount of stories I could tell you of good women who walked away from control freaks. Correct. Some of them were good Adventist women. And got married real late because at the time the men they were going around with who were Adventists were too young, too insecure, control freaks, and they were progressive, and they had to walk away and leave them because the guys would have destroyed their lives.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's one particular friend of mine who was engaged to a very handsome guy. They were madly in love and all that kind of stuff. But you see how Anessa got her beautiful voice? Well, she used to like to sing classical music and so. And his mother, the boy's mother, told her that she must only use her gift for the Lord. So she mustn't sing anything classical. She must only sing Jim Reeves songs.
Wow.
Now, she said, now all these years I've taken singing lessons, right, and training. I must only sing Jim Reeves. She said, then what's the point? In all them years I invested. And then the other thing is, very talented. So she sang a duet once with a male friend, and he vexed till he blew. And was not even a love duet.
Wow.
So he would have literally stifled her right? Because she can't sing with nobody. She must only sing Jim Reeves and things. So, I mean, men got some serious problems.
Yeah.
And yes, sapiosexual women want a sapiosexual man, Anessa, but sometimes it comes so late because I will tell you,
True.
Viola Burnham was a bright woman, had her master's in classical studies. She was brilliant at Latin and classical studies and whatever, and languages. But you know, when she managed to get married and get a man, first child at 38, second child at 41, because she was waiting around for a bright man like herself, and so cause she's sapiosexual. But she got lucky because Burnham divorced the first wife, and that's how she managed to catch. She managed to catch a man as a fluke, right?
Anessa should get lucky. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, she got lucky. So I'm saying all them sapiosexuals. No. I'm knocking you hard because I like you. Yeah? But no, here, the thing I will lay off of Anessa and tell a very funny story. And then I'm done. The reason I'm going to tell a very funny story, and Pastor, you might appreciate this, because you talked to me, you mentioned the lady who decided to helicopter the man as soon as he going up the aisle, right? Just hover. Now, I will tell you a story that is a story in my family, and it's a true story. Because, well, the whole, it's a true story. Now, a member of my family told me why another relative walked away from the church. Now, he became Seventh-day Adventist at 20 years old, right? There was the appeal and he decided to get baptized at 20. And just the same way, he did not know that a spinster in her 30s was looking at him because, 30, you're starting to wonder whether or not your eggs are going to be hard boiled by the time you're ready. Right? So she decided she going to capture this one, right? Although there was a sizable age difference because he's just 20. She's up in her 30s, still single, because she's waiting for Mr. Right. And so she decided before none any. So she taken this young boy. And so she started to invite him to her home for lesson study.
The Cort.
And pardon? Yeah. She invited him for lesson study. And he was going to her house for lesson study for between 3 and 6 weeks, an all-time lesson study going good. And one day she took the key and locked the door, and it was them old Union locks with the big iron key, the long key. Locked the door and took the key and put it in her bra. There's no escape.
Wow.
And he said that as the conversation progressed, and in those days women were well clad, as the conversation progressed, she took off her blouse, and a young man, he took off his shirt. She took off his singlet, he took off his vest. And the rest went downhill from there. After then, man, going for regular lesson study. This going on for a couple of weeks well again. And then one day, she says to him, Mr. Smith, what about marriage? Right?
Wow.
And he said, what? That wasn't in the equation. So she said, well, you don't get married, I will complain to the pastor and the church board. What? So she complained to the pastor and the church board, and the board meeting was called. And when they got before the pastor says, young lady, read the charge. I know what she said. She said, Pastor, as is customary in the ways of Adventism, we seasoned Adventists would lead young converts in the ways of that is no, she said, that is all I was trying to do when I invited young Mr. Smith to my home. She said, and in the moment of my weakness, without any announcement, Mr. Smith took advantage of me and defiled my body.
Oh my nah.
Yeah, and the pastor said, young man, what do you have to say for yourself? And typical country boy, can't speak properly, eh? He said, Parson, me not go deny. He said, Parson, me not go deny. Me own up. Me do 'em. So, he said, but Parson, me want to ask you one question. So, he said, go ahead. He said, Parson, how much like a me been go away? And how much like a you not been go stand right there? If you understand the question, how many young men like me would have walked away from an opportunity to experience bliss? And how many men like you, right, would not have stayed, right? And the pastor then said, case dismissed. The long and short of the story is that he walked away from the church upset that a woman was trying to tie him like that. But, and you know, the fact of the matter is that he lived proving to be a villain, because after then, he never trusted women. He never got married, and he had children all over the place, right? Which was a really tragic story, and it's really, really true, because it's a relative of mine. I know the story, right? So, you know, it's funny that they got all kinds that make up the church, which is why it's a hospital for sinners. You don't have everybody in there doesn't have honorable motives. But the long and short of the story is that because of the paucity of men, all kinds of things crop up in church, and I'm sure pastors could attest to all the cases of Solomon that they have to try.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So wow, this is the longest ever my program went, and I know. The thing about it, audience, as long as you have Mr. Cort at this program, you cannot. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking I have my schedule planned until July 15th. I have to, maybe next week I have to plan for July, August, the balance of July, August. And I'm thinking sometime late in July, I need to bring back this panel, and we just have a sit-down afternoon of do's and don'ts. I have to bring another woman on the platform here where we just discuss do and don'ts in relationship or something of the sort, and just have a fun afternoon laughing. Because I know if we continue, we can go to 3 hours and 4 hours just sitting here talking and discussing stories. But I'm so happy for all of you. I don't think I want to ask any more questions at this point in time, because if I ask one more question, we'll take half an hour more. And
I see the time counting. You see, you robbed us of a 15-minute introduction, asking us to sing and tell about ourselves. So you really the panel 15 minutes. And in addition, I'm looking at the live clock, and it's saying 2 hours and 23 minutes. So what you could do is ask the question and round it up to 2.5 hours. Just keep us within the next 7 minutes.
All right, so audience, if you
oh no, we don't have that time. I don't have that time.
He has to go. And I mean, Pastor would have overspent his time too. He asked me how long. I said, maximum 2 hours. We over 23 minutes. But I so enjoyed you guys, but we will have more of this. On Friday, we're dealing with, Fridays are more serious topics, social issues. And we have a panel to deal with pornography. And I know that's one of the a big issue right now facing individuals, and even persons are at home right now, being at COVID, bored, lonely, don't know about love, perhaps not getting the love that they want, and some people are going elsewhere. So we are dealing with pornography and how to overcome that issue on Friday. But trust me, I really, really had a wonderful discourse this afternoon with you. intelligent panelists, and you have really, I've laughed a whole lot this afternoon. So it's a good way to start my evening. I hope I get to sleep early tonight. But I just want to say thanks to all my viewers for, of course, listening in, for sharing so that our young people can be edified. Young women, I've known, I just want to close on this note. There's several of our young women. I know several women right now in their 30s and their early 40s who are single, a whole lot. And some of them are single by choice. Some of them are single because of the fact that they haven't found someone to meet that mark. Not like if we're looking for the so-called perfect guy. There is no perfect guy out there, but then just some guys to meet some of your basic expectations you don't even find. And even being in Trinidad here, anyway, let me don't comment on my personal story here on Facebook. I have to be very careful. This is Facebook. And this, I don't know.
Hustle.
Going. But I want to say one thing though. Since I started this program here, I had to go and I had to tighten on my Facebook privacy because I recognized I was getting like 20-something requests per day from men. Just men, random men. I have no idea who they are, where they came from, but just requests coming in. And
it's a pity they were not Adventist men.
But a few of them coming in from Adventist men. But I chat with some, but most times I'm just busy planning my programs as the days go by. So it's like I don't have much time to chat. But the sad reality is I want to say one thing. I'm discovering that when it comes to chatting, I don't like people wasting my time. And I find that some guys, they come on and they try to chat with you. Hi, lovely. Hi, beautiful. How is your day? You look this, you look like that. And so I have one of my things that I enjoy doing right now is blocking people at the same time I add. So I add, and in the same mode, I blocked. And to our young men out there, one of the things, I had one case whereby a guy just, well, I don't accept calls from Facebook. I hardly do. My WhatsApp is generally private. But one guy decided to send me a pornography video after he was trying to video chat with me, and I refused to answer his call, and I respond to him, I don't video chat. And he sent me, I blocked him right away, but I recognize while I'm using my page for evangelism, mainly, I realize that there will be some perverts who will come in the midst. But nevertheless, ladies, let's hold our standards high and be very careful with them. I'm so happy with the block icon on Facebook. But I enjoyed this afternoon, and thank you once again, Mr. Paul Cort, for being here. Wow, this afternoon, Pastor Brent St. John, Daniel Jacobs, Anessa Munroe, my friend Demancia Benjamin, who couldn't make it on the program this afternoon. But thank you so much for trying at least. And I do hope we are going to continue to have a wonderful time by God's grace. And once again, thank you. You will definitely be on back again some other time where we have just a laughter and a fun afternoon. So thank you for making my afternoon what it was and what it is. So as we close, let me just pray to close. Loving God and eternal Father, which art in heaven, we are thankful for a wonderful discourse that we had where we are able to elaborate on the issue of infatuation, love, and compatibility. I pray that our young people were indeed blessed and that at the end of the day, they will make wise decisions for you. Continue to bless this panelists and bless all our viewers in a special way. Through Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. All right, so you are watching Issues in Focus with Shibiki Vivals, and I'm going to see you guys again. Panelists, you can just stay on 1 minute after we go off backstage, but I'm going to see you all live all another day. So see you again on Friday at 2 p.m. where we deal with the issue of pornography. Remember, you may not be affected, but then there might be someone else who may be affected. So the tips that we will share on the program will be able to help them. So God bless you all and do take care.